Hey artists, Miss Kit Lang here. I wanted to share with you a mini lesson on how to create tape transfers. Tape transfers are using tape to transfer an image from paper onto the tape. That tape then becomes a sticker and you can use it in your art making. The materials that I have for tape transfers are packaging tape. This is the really sticky tape you use to close up boxes before you mail them. It's different than Scotch tape, what you would use to wrap a present. You need the packaging tape, a safe pair of scissors that you can use, a damp rag, and something printed from an inkjet printer. When you do a tape transfer, you're lifting off the ink from the paper onto the tape. So you do need something that is printed from a printer. You can print off things specifically if you have a printer at home for the tape transfers, but if you don't have anything, see if you can find some documents around home that you can rip up and use in your art so you can try to see if it lifts off and just experiment with the transfers. As with any of my videos, make sure you check with your family that you can use these materials to create art at home. Right, let's get started. Okay, artists, let's get started with our tape transfers. Make sure you have some images printed from an inkjet printer. Some of these things I printed off specifically for transferring. I picked images and things that had a good contrast of black and white. Just remember, anything that is white paper is going to rub away, and anything that is black ink is going to stay and stick to the tape. I also just rummaged around and find some recycled paper that had different black and white images on it. So if you don't have anything printed out specifically for the tape transfer, you can always ask your family if they have any recycled paper that you could just try and test out. So let's get started by cutting some tape. This tape is super sticky. So it's a little tricky to find where the tape starts. So once you do cut a few pieces off, my top tip is to fold a little piece over. That way, then you can find the end again. So I've pre-cut some tape just to speed up the process for you. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do our tape transfer. Take one piece of tape. You don't want it to be too long, something that you can handle easily. Take your image that you want to transfer. You can either have it face up and then stick the tape on top, or you can do it the reverse. But I find it easier to manage the sticky tape doing it this way. Once it's stuck on there, I do flip it over and I do press it down just to make sure that it's really stuck onto the tape. And now it's time to rub with my damp rag. I need to have the white back paper facing up. Take my damp rag and begin by wetting the back with the rag. You'll start to see that the image is slowly showing through. And once I notice the paper is starting to roll and rough away, I start using my fingers, just the tips of my fingers, to rub up and down and roll off the white paper. Just the black ink is sticking to the tape and leaving that image on there. The ink from the inkjet printer sticks to the adhesive tape, and then the paper, when it's damp, just rolls away, leaving just what you want as your transfer. Now you can take a little time, use the rag again to take any leftover bits of pulp off of the tape. And what's great about this is that the tape is still sticky. It's sticky enough to stick to some paper, a notebook. Make sure to stick it on something you're allowed to stick it on. Don't be sticking it on the iPad or on your parents' wall. Take a background, maybe something you've prepared separately, and stick it on. Let's try those bits of scrap paper. I'm not sure if they were from an inkjet printer, but let's have a go. Let's experiment and see. We'll take this piece first, question mark. Again, you can put the tape down on top of the transfer, or if you want, you can have sticky side up and put the transfer down like a temporary tattoo. Either way, you need to imagine that that black ink that you want to transfer has to stick to the sticky side of the tape. Wet and rub gently. The black ink can rub away if you rub too hard with the rag, so just be mindful how hard you're rubbing. That's why I often like to use my fingers because they're a bit softer than the rag, less abrasive, and I can control the paper pulp rolling off a little bit more. Hey, it worked! Must have been from an inkjet printer. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, that worked great. Yes! I can stick it to my background. Let's have an experiment with a color printout. I haven't done many of these, so we can learn about these together. I'm going to zoom in for this and give a little shout out to Minnie Matisse. These papers were left over for my printouts for the artist trading card swap. I'm going to stick the tape down, flip it over, and start to rub away. All right, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that colored ink. See if it lifts off as well as the black ink. This is all about experimenting, trying, seeing what works. It's not going to be successful each time, but that's art, right? We're going to try new things, experiment, improvise, adapt, overcome. Hey, not bad. I might put it on some white paper to see if it's going to show a bit better with the colored ink. It worked. As you can see, so many different possibilities using simple materials that you can find at home: damp rag, safe scissors, packaging tape, and some printed out images. Have fun, guys. Experiment and enjoy the magic of the tape transfer.